Rah, 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 everyone. Hello and welcome to the first ever LFB college football special. It is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching us. We truly appreciate you joining us. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and be part of what we're doing here at the Lakers Fast Break, where we're covering everything from baseball to football. And, of course, we're the best at it. And when it comes to quick concerns, Lakers basketball and the NBA. Nobody does it better than right here than the Lakers Fast Break. Again, like and subscribe and help us out here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. But this is a college football special. We can't have a college football special without great guests, great panelists, and of course a head coach. He is the head coach of the program here at the LFB for college football. It is Coach Joe Soro.
Yay! So I find it coincidental that we start our first college football show. We're not going to be doing a lot of these. There'll be more specials. But at the same time, the biggest surprise in college football this year so far is Bill Belichick coaching the University of North Carolina.
Yep. Jay's asking if he wins a national title in 4 years. I say no.
Here's my question. So I was taught in broadcasting school. I took broadcasting school for a few years. I was told that you prepare for a show, but then you got to wait for the, I guess, breaking news story. And then you got to be able to think quick on your feet on that one. Now, we're not going to delve into Belichick that much. We're still going to be doing the bracket, the prognostication of the bracket. But this is I don't even know how to absorb this in my head. Bill Belichick is 15 wins away from being the all-time winning coach in NFL history. If you had come to me 6 months ago and said, Joe, Belichick is going to coach in college, I would have looked at you and thought you were seriously brain damaged. And now I'm brain damaged. What do I know? How the hell did this happen? His dad coached at North Carolina in the 50s. Did that factor in? Like, is he trying to do some kind of retroactive full circle type thing here?
Well, he does like him young.
Do you think his girlfriend has something to do with this?
Okay, hold on. Let's talk football here. I don't want to get into that.
No, I know.
Okay, Coach. Well, who's here with us, Coach? Come on. Give an introduction.
So I have my cousin here, Ralph. He's been chatting with the chats here the last few months. He's enjoying the Lakers shows and the banter. He's going to be more adept to the college thing, especially college football, because that's more of his passion. We like sports in our family, and this is kind of what we do. And I thought of doing this show because I knew he'd be able to participate. So I think it's good. Welcome, Ralph. Glad you're here. You're going to get a taste of the audience here, and it's been a good 3 years here where we've been able to 3 year plus years, at least for me, for us to build our little community here, and it'll continue to grow as long as we bring in the entertainment. That's really what it is. Okay, so going back, and we're still waiting on Sean. Sean, where the hell are you? Yeah, you're right, Blue Magic. That's exactly what it is. It's like Phil Jackson coaching my alma mater, San Diego State University. So, okay, answer me this question. I'm going to ask Ralph this question. Let's see if he can give me a good answer here. Why the hell would Bill Belichick want to go into homes and recruit a bunch of snot-nosed kids that might just decide after a year, oh my God, Bill Belichick is so mean, I'm going to transfer to Iowa State now?
I mean, do you think, because he had retired, it was or officially like ended the year before this season, right? He was coaching last year, right? I mean, I guess my answer I would give is maybe he just kind of 1 year was just too much for him. I mean, when you've just been coaching your whole life, and let me just get a new challenge with college football. I mean, he already has the respect that he has earned through the NFL. So it's like, maybe let's take a shot at college football, maybe pull like a hardball kind of. But no, I mean, honestly, I didn't see this either. I mean, with his energy and stuff and the whole NIL, it's kind of like why I feel like Nick Saban stopped, something he doesn't want to be a part of. But I don't know. Maybe the girlfriend's pushing him to go do it so that maybe he gets stressed out and she gets his money.
Okay, Gerald, what's your assessment on this? I just need a different answer or some kind of answer
Maybe
that
he's
makes sense.
persona non grata in the NFL.
No,
Maybe
I don't want to
can't-
hear any French talk. I want concise, direct reasoning. Ralph
Maybe-
said he's itching to coach, and if he's
Well,
going
he's
to
itching
college,
coach, yes, but
okay.
maybe he
So
can't
does
coach
that
in
mean
the
that the
pros.
NFL didn't want him? Did he get?
Yes, as a head coach.
So
Maybe he
no
could still
team
adopt-
Buffalo would not have wanted him if McDermott continues to do what he does and they end up not winning.
What about the Bears? Like the
I would
Bears?
no
I thought
way,
that was
no.
No, you don't think so?
I would never coach in Chicago. The Caskies, as long as the Muscat, no, never. Bidwell's, no. In Arizona, McCaskey's in Chicago, no, and the hell to the no. Well, actually, there's two more. The hell to the no, Mike Brown in Cincinnati, and for sure Jerry Jones in Dallas. Never those four teams. Those teams are just absolute acid, just acid to anything progressive. You don't want to be in that environment. It's constantly just being undermined and being, you're having your intelligence insulted. I'm surprised. I really am. I would have liked to have seen maybe Belichick kick the tires on the Raiders, maybe even since Brady was there. But we're not going to see it. And again, please, Gerald, no more French talk, no more French Canadian talk. Can you give us an answer? By the way, that's a joke.
Yes, we know. We know the French language is beyond your comprehension. But anyways, I want to say this.
Man, I know 3 languages, man. How many do you know?
You know what? I know enough to get by.
Yeah, you know French.
I know how to say F you in French, and I'll just leave it at that. But I will say is he can't get another head coach job right now. Maybe as a coordinator, he could have got it, but I think that was probably offered to him and he declined. And I think he, at just this point in time, he wants to show that he can still take a team to victory. And in the NIL, the portal window, the whole 9 yards, you can build a team quick. Look at prime time. Look at what he's done in a short amount of time as far as make a competitive team that's not a national championship level, but just a notch below. He's been able to get a Heisman Trophy candidate and obviously his son as well is pretty good, darn good himself, but he's been able to field a team in a relatively short of time because the portal window. I think that it's appealing to him because he could build a winning team, Joe, rather quick.
I have been impressed by Dion this year. I think what has helped him become the coach he is right now is the fact that he kind of stopped with the rah-rah BS. I think he started really focusing on the job. I thought the last few stints, the one in Jackson as well as the first year in Colorado, I thought there was just too much pram.
Do you think that was his fault though, or you think it was kind of like? Honestly, I think the media pushed that. Like,
No, it's his fault. Look, anyone that no one forces any of these guys to do anything. They decide to do it. No one forces Nick Saban to be ornery. If you're going to blame the media for that, then you're not really bright in my book. The media their job is to ask questions, and unfortunately, most of the people who are asking questions in the media are not intelligent enough to create. I'm sorry, not intelligent. I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. They're not creative enough to ask the correct question. I guarantee you, if the media asked Nick Saban or the Kirby Smarts or Deion Sanders, anybody that coaches with any kind of like emotion, but Kirby's not probably a good example because he's a nice guy. You can ask him anything; he'll give you a nice answer. But let's use Nick Saban as an example. Even Bill Belichick. If you ask those guys questions that are stupid, they're going to let you know you're stupid. Now, as far as Sanders is concerned, I think what Sanders kind of understood was the rah-rah stuff has a limit. At some point, you got to put up or shut up. And you can't be constantly in that mode and garner the respect of your team if you're always that guy, because now they're going to feel like, well, if you're out there selling, whatever, why can't we? I'll give you a good example. Mike Ditka, back in the 80s, late 80s, he was criticizing a lot of his players for spending a lot of time with the endorsement stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned around and he started doing it. He lost the respect of his team right out the gate. So it's not the same situation, but it's similar in terms of do as I say, not as I do type situation. You don't want to live that kind of life. We've been dealing with that with our livelihoods the last 4 years. You don't want to do that, in football, especially with impressionable kids. You want to make sure that it's about the game. And what Dion's done, from my perspective, this year is I always can tell the noise. That's the stuff I pay attention to. I pay attention to the noise. How loud is the noise? Gerald, remember we talked about on the show a few hours ago about how you remember when the Lakers were killing everybody in 2020 and they ended up winning a championship? I did not hear a peep out of that freaking nothing. I didn't hear anything in practice. I didn't hear anything in road trips. I didn't hear anything in El Segundo where they train. I didn't hear anything. I remember distinctively telling people, like, what's going on? Like, drama, no nothing out of the the behind the scenes stuff with the Lakers. I go, man, this team must be tight and it must be just focused on what they're doing. And of course, look what happened. They ended up having the best season that year than any team, right? They ended up winning a championship. So I think Colorado's doing that. Now, whether Colorado is going to continue to do better or he's going to look for something else, that's going to be the question. And the way the conferences are shaping up right now, and this is a prelude to where we're going with this, guys, because I think it's important we talk about this. College football is changing this year. It changed already. Just looking at the bracket. I'm gonna Gerald, you can go ahead and put up the bracket here for everyone to see.
All right. And with that, we will be
I'm
showing
gonna
you guys
I'm going to go over this
right here.
This is why it's changed. Now look at that. I want you guys to ask yourself a question. I know Arizona State had a run back in like 97 when Jake Plummer was there, but I mean, you might as well have been, it was literally the last century, right? So ASU, had there not been a playoff, would have been a playoff team. And then look at the one on the right, or I should say number 3, Boise State. Boise State is number 3. And then you can even look at Oregon as a number 1, even though Oregon had a pretty good, they're kind of like the Gonzaga of college football, but they got pretty close when they faced Cam Newton. What was it in 2011? 2011, they got close, but even still, I still consider them kind of the non-SEC, non-Big Ten type teams like OSU. Penn State. So what's funny about this, and tell me if you guys agree with me, I guarantee if you sit back and you talk to ASU, Oregon, and Boise State, they're probably really upset that the playoff started this year, because all they would have to have done is win 2 games. Now they have to worry about Arizona State's going to have to worry about either Clemson or Texas. Okay, let's say they win that, right? Then they got to face likely the number 1 team, or probably my pick, Ohio State. And even Tennessee is going to be hard. And then on top of that, then they got to play another game to win. I mean, it's kind of a bummer, isn't it? They got to win an extra game in the first 12-team playoff, when if it was just a 4-team playoff, we might have seen a non-Big Ten, non-SEC team win a championship. Now, I would have still picked Georgia, and I think Georgia would have still won. But I just think the fact that the timing of this is hilarious. And then, of course, I'm trying to also explain the fact that you have SMU, which, for those of you who don't remember, I know a lot of you guys are young, SMU was a team that got caught with some violations back in the 80s. They had 2 prominent running backs, two prominent, one of the best running backs of all time in the NFL, and Eric Dickerson and Craig James. They had that's when they coined the term Pony Express. But years after that, they got served the death penalty for recruiting violations and other violations. I think that from what I can remember. And since then, I mean, death penalty was pretty much at that time. Your program was toast, and it's nice to see that they finally recovered from that. It's been almost 30 years now that they've kind of come back from it. So congratulations to MSU. And looking at them, looking at Boise State, I know Boise State and Oregon have been competitive, but I still consider them the mid-tier team. So you have SMU, Boise State, Arizona State, and then Indiana. Indiana, guys, Indiana, a basketball state, a basketball campus is in the college football playoff, and they're going to be battling their state rival. Well, I don't know if is that would you call it a state rival or just a state opponent? Probably.
Well,
I mean, it's not a rivalry, right? Indiana's
opponent.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to see the two Indiana teams face off in the first round, and it's already exciting. It's already exciting. I think we're
Joe,
good. Yeah, go ahead.
Who would have been top 4 if this was last year's playoffs? Which 4 teams would be in right now?
If this was last year?
Yeah, like we only 4 teams. Oregon, number 1. I mean, they're undefeated. So now you got 2. I mean, it'd be, say it played out how it did, Texas, Georgia SEC championship. Georgia beats Texas in the regular season. Georgia.
Okay, so let's talk shop. What happened?
Yeah.
The top 4 teams got in because they won their conferences, correct?
Yeah, so it's different this year.
Okay.
The top 4 conference winners.
Okay, so what would have happened is it would have more than likely been Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and I guess I'm trying to think here which one this would be. Penn State, yeah, Penn State. So it would have been Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame would have been the team that they were saying, oh my God, why this and that. But yeah. I think in the end, Penn State's a better team than Notre Dame, but not by much.
They're similar teams, in my opinion.
There's a lot of similarities. And again, I'm going to let you speak here, Ralph. Go ahead and give your analysis. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you I'm going to pick certain matchups. And I'm gonna throw them your way, and then Gerald, I'm gonna throw certain matches towards your way, and we can kind of get a nice assessment, get everyone's opinion on things, and whichever opponents that you discuss, you'll be like the kind of the answer man for that particular game, so that that kind of becomes your game.
You got it, Coach.
So yeah, I want to delegate this as best I can. So knowing my cousin, big Michigan fan. For those of you who don't know, we were at the Rose Bowl earlier in the year. It killed me to cheer against my man Nick Saban, but family comes first. I was a Michigan fan that night, and it was the second greatest football game, in my opinion, in my lifetime. First one will always be USC versus Texas.
I mean,
however, I was live here, and my God, it was, folks. There's nothing like a college football game. There's nothing like college football game.
In the end zone, we're overtime.
In the end zone, and by sheer luck, the second half direction of Michigan was. Oh wait, it was Alabama. Alabama was towards our way. Yeah. So here. So by our sheer luck, the money play, the play that stopped Alabama, Milroe basically trying to quarterback dive, right?
Yeah.
We were right there, and boom, stopped it right where we were, right in our line of sight. And the next phase was me screaming, going crazy, watching his brother. That's where we were, yes. Watching his brother Roman trying to control the camera as best as he could, and then watching him and my first cousin Dylan collapse. Who lost their footing first, you or Dylan?
There we go. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Ah, dang.
We'll get the footage. Don't worry. We'll get the footage.
We're going to have to.
So we're there. Milrow gets stopped. Michigan wins. The place goes nuts. And what a day that was. So with that, I'm going to give Ralph the first dibs on matchup number 6 and 7, or I should say 8 and 9. Ohio State versus Tennessee. Ohio State, I would say, if it wasn't for the new college format, I have a pretty good feeling. We're probably never going to know, and maybe it still may happen after this one. But I believe Ryan Day might have been fired by now. What do you think?
He would have been executed on the field.
Right?
Hung on the goalpost.
And the fact that the state of Ohio is not talking about, is it the state of Ohio or the city? I don't even know what. Talking about making it a felony to put a flag? Who pulled that? That's got to be a joke, right? Is that a joke?
No,
that's got to be a joke.
That's I don't know. All Michigan people are reporting it. I don't think there's no way.
Anyways, so give me your assessment on Tennessee versus Ohio State. Tennessee, we have a your aunt, her man is a huge Alabama fan, and he's been cracking on Tennessee since as long as we've known him. So I find it hilarious that it's Ohio State, Tennessee. What's your assessment on that, and who do you think the winner will be?
Well, this is a scenario I have in my head. Ohio State, whatever mistakes they make, maybe they're trailing a little bit. The worst thing about this game is because Ohio State's home. And you know what's going to happen? Already Ryan Day's on the hot seat if they don't, win out this year. They just have this terrible loss, which is still lingering in their minds. So now you got them at home. They start trailing. They start losing in the game. Then you start hearing, F Ryan Day, fire Ryan Day. You can booing, suck, this, that. And then, these are like immature, college players starts getting in their head. You know what I mean? So as soon as they start trailing, if it happens by like 2 touchdowns, like booing's going to start happening. You know what I mean? And then Ryan Day, he can't handle pressure to save his life. He couldn't even handle his players saying, oh, well, our players weren't just going to let them plant the flag in the field, even though it's like they made Michigan the whole villain. Of course, I'm going to be biased with how I talk, but it's like, I'm sorry, the flag planting thing, that's always been around college football, So just because you lost to one of the worst Michigan teams in history, that's just how it is. So I think Tennessee, as long as they execute, they have everything on their side. They're away, they're not home. That might seem intimidating, but if Ohio State makes a few mistakes and they trail, I think Tennessee has this in the bag. There's no way Ohio State bounces back, in my opinion.
Are you picking Ohio State or are you picking Tennessee?
I have to pick Tennessee. I will not pick Ohio State.
Oh, so it's more just feelings on that one.
No, I think Tennessee has more momentum. Ohio State has a lot more to lose.
Gerald, what's your assessment on that?
On Tennessee versus Ohio State?
Tennessee versus Ohio State.
Tennessee's had a solid season. Ohio State, I know that people would say that maybe where they're at is a little bit of a disappointment so far. But I'm going to go with OSU on this one. I think they do have a little bit stronger defense, and I think that at least gets them one round as far as it's concerned. I don't think it'll get them either team. I don't think give them much a chance against Oregon, but that's just me because what I've seen from Oregon so far this season, they seem pretty rock solid on both ends of the field. And right now I see Ohio State as the one that's going to be served up to Oregon at the Rose Bowl.
They need to sling the ball. Yeah, they need to sling the ball. If they get like 300 passing yards, it'll happen. They'll win Ohio State.
So I'm gonna attribute the loss to Michigan. This isn't the first time a lesser team in college rivalries, popular rivalries like Auburn versus Alabama or Florida versus Florida State, Miami versus Florida State. This is not new. Just because Michigan wasn't good didn't mean that they didn't have a chance to beat Ohio State. It's no different than when a division opponent in the NFL plays another division opponent. It's easy to just say, oh well, the Cleveland Browns are so and so, 3-9, and you're 9-3. You should be able to blow these guys out. In division rivalries, or rivalries that have been spanning almost 100 years or 100 years or more, there's a different tenor in that. There's different emotions. People play up for that. You look at Ohio State's record or season in general. They lost to Oregon by 1 point. And then they lost to Michigan. As bad as that was, they had a fantastic season. They pretty much blew out every team. They beat Penn State, which was number 3 at the time. I mean, Indiana they beat as well, although I think Indiana's not anywhere near Penn State or Ohio State, but they're still a playoff team. So I'm going to say this just to kind of play it neutral and play it as an objective observer. I believe that Ohio State can make up for that loss to Michigan by getting to the national championship. And I think the way the bracket is set up, and I know Oregon's good, but it's always dangerous when two teams are close and then they play for a second time. So I got Ohio State on this one. I know Tennessee. It's nice to see Tennessee kind of come back a little bit. It's been a while since Phil Fulmer took the Tennessee Volunteers to the championship in '98, which, by the way, that was a year after, with T. Martin, that was the year after Peyton Manning retired. And I always wonder how that happened. Like, was Peyton Manning too involved? Did he not relinquish a little bit, or was it just good timing? But anyways, I feel bad that Tennessee has to bow out here this quick, but I have full confidence that Ohio State's going to beat Tennessee at the shoehorn. I call it the shoehorn. I know it's the horseshoe. But I'm picking Ohio State in this one. And if I had, do we want to do scores? I mean, that's impossible, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't do scores.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at the line. Let's look at the line here. So we're looking at right now. I know the line is still moving, but what are we looking at here? Shoot, where did it go? Here we go. Where are we? Sorry, guys. Hold on. Line is moving there. Where the hell is this?
I mean, honestly, I think Ohio State either, they're going to like another game like Michigan where they kind of like blow it and lose at the end because of like, mental mistakes. If Tennessee executes physically, they win. If Ohio State executes mentally, Ohio State will win the game. I mean, it's just move on.
My apologies. I just wanted to put in there. OSU is 7.5 point favorite.
Okay, so that's going to change by the time the 20th comes, right?
Yes. And again, my apologies, Ralph. Appreciate it. Sorry.
Go ahead, Ralph.
No, yeah, I think if Tennessee can just execute their plays physically, like they win. But if Ohio State mentally stays locked in, they are a more talented team. And yeah, I mean, that game against Oregon, I was watching that, like they easily should have won that game, Oregon just pulled it out at the end. So no, I really think that Ohio State, as long as they just keep their mind right, it should be an easy win for them, really, but I'm not picking them.
No, I understand. And there's a chance that they might not, but I actually think that if Ohio State does lose this game, it might be Ryan Day's last game as Ohio State coach. The only question I have at this point to put a button on this is, if that were to happen, who are they going to hire? Who are they going to hire? Who's next? Are you sure you want to do that? Jim Harbaugh didn't beat Ohio State, first 4 years? First 5 years?
I mean, he was there 10 years, I think. And
more than that even, right?
10 or 12 years, I want to say, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think OSU will probably panic and fire him and then try to find somebody else. Good for them, I guess, at that point. It is what it is. Ryan Day will have a job probably within a week anyways. But anyways, so you got Tennessee Gerald, who did you get?
Ohio State.
You have Ohio State. I have Ohio State, and I have it. I'll just throw a number out there. I have them covering. I think they can win by 10.
If they win, they'll destroy Tennessee. Like I'm not destroyed, but they're gonna win by at least 10. If they lose, it's another Michigan loss, like very close.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So we'll go with that. I'd say Ohio State covers for sure. The next, I'm gonna go with the because the first game is actually Indiana Notre Dame. I don't know why this is popping up in my head lately, but I have this feel. I don't know why I want Notre Dame to win it. Is there a reason why that I'm thinking this? Why do I want Notre Dame to win?
My dad rides with Notre Dame too.
Why are we picking it, Ralph? Tell me. It just came out of nowhere. I've never really cared about Notre Dame or whether they win or not. Like, why do I want them to win? What's happened this year that's been appealing for us to watch these guys possibly win it all? I'll tell you the answer, but I want to see what your assessment is. What is it? What's the feeling around that? Why?
I mean, I'm going to assume because why I said earlier Notre Dame and Penn State are similar. I'm not saying the teams are similar. Their outlook is similar. They always have them starting top 10 in the beginning of the year. They take some type of loss where it's like, why were they ranked 5 or 6 to start the year? But then I will say, like, Notre Dame, yeah, they have this huge alumni. I mean, Notre Dame's only like 8,000 students. It's a very small school, but the amount of money they have coming in and for college football itself, in my opinion, they're in a flashy team. I know they have this historic background and stuff, but for me, like when I think of the flashy teams, I think of the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States. I mean, even Michigan, a lot of these SEC schools, like Notre Dame kind of like stays relevant somehow,
Well, looking at their schedule, unfortunately, the strength of schedule wasn't that good, and they also lost Northern Illinois. And I know that some teams kind of have a dud every now and then, but that you gotta kind of factor in the entire schedule too. And that's always kind of been the problem with Notre Dame is they're not playing. I mean, who did they play in the SEC? Hold on, let me look. Okay, Texas A&M. I mean, I guess they beat them at College Station, so I guess that's not bad. Surprising Army, surprising Navy at the time. What was it, 19 and 24 ranked teams? Louisville at 15. Then it's Purdue.
This will be the highest. This will be the highest ranked team that they played all season.
Okay,
not even close.
So the strength of schedule did this play a factor in that we're not likely going to see Notre Dame probably end this in the way that Notre Dame was used to seeing things end back in their heyday. Notre Dame hasn't won a national title since 1988, since Lou Holtz was the coach. Yes. And I think that plays a part in that because the school only has 8,000 students, because it's difficult to get into Notre Dame, because maybe maybe I'm favoring a Catholic school and all that. I'm Catholic. I don't know.
Notre Dame.
I can't help but say, man, look, imagine a team that wins it all in college football in this day and age with all the NIL stuff, and yet these guys still kept their standards. They still kept to their, hey, you still got to have this to come here, baby. And that's probably the admiration I have for them. And I think they're going to beat Indiana, despite the easy schedule that they've had. So I'm picking Notre Dame to beat Indiana. Gerald, what's your assessment on that?
I think Indiana has had a little bit of a tougher schedule. They've had a little bit better tests. Yes, it wasn't as big and stout as some of the other Big Ten teams, but it's been on strength of schedule, in my opinion, better than what we've seen as far as at least the high end than Notre Dame. There is that one stinging loss against Northern Illinois. They struggled against USC, a bad USC team. They struggled with other mediocre teams as well. I think they do have some good players, but nobody really stands out on that team. They're going to have a collective performance, and I think they're going to have to get some good quarterback play in order to get the victory over Indiana. I think Indiana I think Indiana's got their number. I'm going to go ahead with Indiana. This is the team that's been on a run for a while. This team that constantly gets, forgotten about. They get forgotten about. They get tossed aside. They're always the underdog, and they're going to come in there thinking they are the underdog, actually, in this game by 7.5. But I think they're going to pull out the win. I don't think it'll last much longer than that, but I think they're going to go ahead and pull out the win over Notre Dame.
So, Ralph, you got Notre Dame, and Gerald, you got Indiana.
Wait. No, I haven't made a decision yet.
Okay,
no, I have not.
You said you had Notre Dame.
Yeah. You asked me my opinion why you feel that way about Notre Dame.
What's your pick on that one?
I'm writing these down too, what we all guess, so we can do another show after round 1.
Well, I've already made my list already, I think in a previous telecast.
Okay.
So we're just going to reiterate it here because it's going to be easier to find this later.
Okay.
So go ahead and write it down, then we'll talk more.
Well, so Indiana, I do think has had like a pretty decent schedule for the type of school they are, not being a football school. I love the whole James Madison team the last couple of years, like how dominant they've been as a smaller school. And guess who's Indiana's coaches now? From James Madison, and he took like good amount of his players there. So it's pretty cool to me. Like you got this coach that kind of made a name for himself from James Madison to Indiana, which I think, by the way, he was another assistant under Nick Saban. So this family tree of coaches coming under Mr. God Nick Saban of college football. So I'm going with Indiana. Spread. What was the spread?
7.5.
So Notre Dame minus 7.5. I'll take the plus 7.5. Indiana. I'd probably take a alternate spread at plus 6.5 because then you'll end up hitting because they ended up winning by a touchdown and you missed the half the point. Well, no, that was at you do the minus. So if you're going with Notre Dame, I would do minus 6.5. I wouldn't do minus 7.5. But I'm gonna take Indiana.
Okay, so let's say Indiana makes a run here. I'm glad you brought up the coaches' information. That actually you got like a prelude to what I wanted to discuss, especially with what's going on in Ohio State. So Kurt Cignetti is the coach of Indiana, and I got a question for both of you and everyone that's listening. If Ohio State loses to Tennessee and Indiana, let's say, and I don't think it would matter anyways, let's say that even if they lost in this first one, but let's just say they win this game and they play Georgia. And Georgia and Indiana, let's say Georgia wins in a close game. I don't know what his contract is at Indiana, but does Ohio State call him to come coach Ohio State?
Oh, yeah. I think
right. Am I right? So I'm telling you, man, I don't think anything will ever beat the NFL, but we discussed this, I think last year even, that college football is about to go somewhere here that I'm wondering if it will rival the NFL at some point, especially with the way the NIL is kind of developing. Everything is always an issue at the beginning of something. People are always like, oh, it's not working. And I'll give you an example of real life. So the .com age, a lot of those who were born after that, the .com was what the crypto thing is now, where it was very volatile until it wasn't. And what happened was everybody wanted to do a .com because they all wanted to build a business, sell it, become rich. Problem is there was too much. It was too saturated. It ended up crashing, right?
What year was this, Joe?
This was late 90s.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, you weren't even born yet. So then what happened was then there was a kind of a correction. It was a correction. Things got tighter. People understood the internet a little bit more, understood how to market it better, and then it turned into what it turned into. Crypto's kind of the same thing, where you had the bear market that came screaming a few years ago after everybody was like, go to crypto, go to crypto, go to crypto. It crashed, and I'm just using that as an easy term to use. It wasn't really crash. It was just, again, it's investments. It is what it is. And then now it's starting to kind of come back a little bit. It's the same thing with the NIL in college football. As soon as that kind of it's been kind of aggressive, and a lot of people are not adjusting to it. There's an adjustment period to the new way of doing something. But what it will do is it's not going to be a distraction anymore to all of a sudden, oh, is Ohio State cheating? Oh, did somebody talk to somebody in Florida by a satellite by Jim Harbaugh? Oh, is USC going? What happened with Reggie? Like all this trash, when you think about it, that we don't have to worry about anymore. Now you can just focus on the game and the setup and the schedules. And that's it. That's all we're going to have to worry about with college football. And imagine these games. Imagine these 12 team. Like you're going to have so many more people involved in D1 football. Like, man, Indiana now. Imagine the state of Indiana. You have Notre Dame and Indiana playing. Imagine you have Ohio State. Maybe one day you might have Michigan State in there. Michigan. You might have Florida State, and Florida maybe one day with this setup. It's really, really cool that there's a possibility of that happening. And no matter how national college football is, it's still really a regional game. That's why there's rivalries. That's why there is a Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. That's why Alabama-Auburn. Hell, it's not even regional. It's in-state rivalries. That stuff brings a special feel. And there's many more, by the way. Those are just the big ones. So getting to the point here, I'm thinking that to put a button on this, since we talked about those two teams, watch out for that. And I'm mentioning it because
Did Joe leave us here? Think he did.
Froze
Joe
out.
has been paused. Yep. Oh, well, again, it is the college football special with Joe Soro. Unfortunately, Joe is kind of out of the scene right now, so I'll go ahead. But your thoughts on this final matchup before we move on to the next one?
I was looking at his contract, Indiana's coach. Well, Joe was saying because
there
was
he
it-
is. There's Coach. Is it okay? Did he go? Now he's gone. He was there and now he left. Oh, okay.
yeah, so Indiana's coach, it's 8-year contract with an average annual compensation of $8 million, as well as an additional annual $1 million retention bonus. So he signed through technically 2032, but I mean, Ohio State with the amount of money they make, I mean, they could take over that contract easily.
Joe,
yeah, I'm here.
anything to add on before because you're routing?
Sorry, I don't remember where I got cut off. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I just want to close it up. Go ahead, Ralph.
Indiana's coach going to Ohio State, because I looked up his contract right now. It's 8 years through 2032, so an annual average of compensation of $8 million. But I'm like, Ohio State could easily take over that contract.
Yeah, they could buy it out easy.
Yeah.
Would they be willing to do that though? $8 million for Indiana is a lot of money. That's amazing that they invested that much. Wow. I didn't know it was 8 million. I thought it was maybe 5. But yeah, so geez. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see how that plays out. So I got Ohio State and I have Notre Dame in those first two. Next game would be, if I had to pick, probably one that I'm pretty sure will be close, is Clemson versus Texas.
By the way, Chase says the Indiana coach got an 8-year extension this year based primarily off the success of this season.
They updated it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that plays out. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm kind of cynic. I'm a cynic on that. Well, Nick Saban said he was not leaving Miami. All of a sudden, he was an Alabama coach 3 months later. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. The Clemson-Texas game. What's your assessment on that one, Ralph? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Clemson is? I don't know why I feel like this is going to be close, but are you on that boat? Do you think this game's going to be tight?
The scenario I have in my head is with Ewers, because I know he's been there. They want to give him his respect. You know, it's probably his last year. But, I mean, this guy with his ankle and the injuries he's had, like, you know, every game I feel like I see one lineman fall on him and he's limping back up. And not to say I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback or anything, but just with that injury. But then guess what? He goes to the bench. Then you got Arch Manning that will come in and sling it 70 yards, or he can run 50 yards, something his uncles never did. So it's not like they're riding on this quarterback, and if he goes out, they're done. Like, I'm more scared of Arch Manning than I am scared of viewers. So yeah, I would like to see Clemson just being here in Arizona. I want ASU to be successful, and I'm rooting for Clemson. But as Joe says, this isn't Disneyland or Disney Channel. I got to ride with Texas.
Gerald?
So as far as Clemson and Texas?
Correct.
I'm going to go Texas. I know that they have the quarterback, carousel that they continuously try to do as far as get both Ewers and Manning in there and give them their spot duty. Ewers is good, but they're a talented team on both ends of the ball. I do like their defense. I'm going to say that Texas is going to win pretty comfortably. I know the spread is 11 for Texas, and I think they're going to win comfortably by 2 touchdowns.
Okay, so Clemson beat SMU. Does that hold any water in possibly being very competitive against Texas?
Well, if SMU played the way they did just in the fourth quarter, if they played the way they did the whole game, the way they did just in the fourth quarter, I think they would have smoked Clemson.
Okay, so and that's the issue, right? SMU was constantly catching up.
Yeah.
Clemson, which I actually thought SMU was going to win that game, maybe not handedly, but I thought maybe it'd be like a 28-14 type win.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They had to kind of eke their way back. Does that mean anything in this game, or is Texas just too good? And are we going to see probably a blowout if they're favored by 11?
Well, Texas has the easiest route. Like, Oregon has the hardest route, in my opinion. The easiest route is Texas. Georgia a little bit too, I will say. But Texas, they came off this loss now. They should have some fuel to work with. Like, they beat Clemson, then you're going to get an ASU. I love ASU being here, but let's be real. They're coming off the Pac-12 and going to the Big 12, which is not a big difference. So Texas wins 2 games. They're there, but then it'll be Oregon, Texas versus Oregon. So it's gonna look so bad on Steve Sarkisian if he loses this game against Clemson. Like, I'm sorry. And they lost the SEC championship. They lost twice to Georgia in 1 year.
I think it's going to be closer than you think. I would take Clemson. I'd take Clemson with the points. But again, I'm still picking Texas. Texas has only lost to Georgia this year.
Yeah,
they
twice, but they did.
Yeah, they've only lost to Georgia, and I think they're good for 1 win here. Actually, I think they're going to be good for more than 1 win. But for this one, I think they win it. I think they win it in a close one. And they go into ASU with some confidence, some even bigger confidence, because I don't think Texas and ASU matched up very well. But I'll get to that in a minute here once we discuss Penn State and SMU. So Penn State, SMU. Penn State, another Big Ten team. You're familiar with, Ralph. Penn State has been, I'd say, kind of the Texas version of the Big Ten. Would you agree?
They're like a duplicate of Notre Dame, in my opinion. They always
their schedule stunk. Is that why?
Well, no, and the preseason rankings. They always have Penn State top 10. I'm like, why do they deserve that? And then they get 1 loss in the beginning of the year. They barely beat USC, and you see how USC looks now. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not confident in Penn State, man. They shouldn't even score that much points last week. I think that was weird against Oregon, but they're not as good of as a team, in my opinion. SMU, they're like praying right now the fact that they even made it in, and probably because of Dabo Swinney being like, that team deserves to be in. So SMU,
the reason why I kind of mirrored them to Texas is the 2 losses that Texas had was against 2 of the playoff teams. Now, granted, it was 1 team, but that they lost twice. and then Penn State lost to Ohio State, and and Oregon, and both were relatively close. So that's kind of where I don't know. I guess it's relative. They lost by 8 and they lost by 7 to Ohio State and Oregon. So it's just, again, I just think this thing's going to be very interesting how it plays out. It's a lot of these teams have had kind of sucky schedules, and I thought it was funny that some of the teams that didn't get in, they were yapping about, they paid a bunch of third-tier teams to come get slaughtered, right? Well, the teams that got slaughtered pay for that, actually. But a lot of these teams that are in this thing, if you look at their wins, most of them are against not really good teams. You look at Penn State, for example. They played Kent State, Purdue. Everybody played Purdue, I feel like. Everyone played Purdue, and everyone blew out Purdue.
Did you see some of these games? I mean, Penn State, I know, different times throughout the year, different players might be healthy or not, but like
University of
Monroe,
University of Louisiana Monroe, like really. There's a lot of these guys ended up playing kind of dinkuses throughout this season, and they kind of meshed together in a way. But anyways, what were you gonna say, Ralph? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, they beat Bowling Green by a touchdown. I know that was week 2. Let me see. What was the other one?
That happens.
Yeah, I remember watching.
Yeah, that happens. That happens sometimes. Sometimes your focus is off. You kind of play within the confines of the team you're playing. But at the same time, there wasn't really a lot of, when you look back in the past, let's look at Penn State as an example, okay? They played USC, which was supposed to be competitive by now with Mr. Lincoln Riley, right? They played a team like Wisconsin, which always was in the top 25 in some way, and sometimes even in the top 10. Washington was a national championship participant last year, and you had some good teams. West Virginia has always kind of been this NFL kind of factory as well. A lot of good players come out of West Virginia, and they've been pretty competitive. But for some reason, this last year, I feel like a lot of those teams that have always stayed up in the top 25 are not there, and those are the teams they played, and of course they end up winning those games. But there's a lot of mirroring here. I'm just kind of getting to that point where there's a lot of these teams have mirrored each other. They're losing to the harder teams, they're losing to the Georgias, they're losing to the Oregons, but they're beating everybody they're supposed to. So maybe it's playing out the same way. Heck, even Florida State, you're looking at Florida State for Clemson. Florida State completely died. Pittsburgh played well every now and then. I don't know, I guess, but again, I don't know. We're gonna find out. As far as your picks on this one, I'm gonna pick Penn State over SMU. What's your pick, Gerald?
Going to take Penn State. They played very well against Oregon. Gave one of them the best games of the season for them, and I was surprised. I thought Oregon was just going to blow away Penn State right from the get-go. I credit Penn State for never giving up, and I just think it's just too much. I just honestly think they're just too much for Clemson at this point. SMU. It's a nice story. SMU, Pony Express returned and all that. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, Penn State's just going to have it easy. Let me go ahead and get you the spread. By the way, Texas is 11. I mentioned OSU is favored by 7.5. Notre Dame 7.5, and Penn State is 9. Yeah, I would take the Penn State and the 9. Yeah, I know they're favored, but yeah, Penn State's going to win by more than 9.
Ralph, you got Penn State too?
I want to ride with Penn State, but I want to follow it with a question. Okay,
right.
So right now, if someone gave you $300, what upset are you taking for round 1?
Ooh, good question.
I'm taking on this team.
I'm taking Clemson over Texas as an upset.
I'm taking Indiana over Notre Dame as the upset.
And I'm taking SMU over Penn State.
Okay, so we all have our each.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's on tape as well. So if something happens where one of our teams upsets in that round, it breaks up the bracket for you, but you have that little kind of wild card where you're like, hey, man, I did pick this as an upset if it were to happen. So, Gerald, you have SMU?
I do not have SMU. I have Penn State.
No, I mean, as far as an upset.
An upset. Indiana. Indiana.
Oh, you picked Indiana, and then Ralph, you picked Indiana as well?
I picked SMU.
Oh, you picked that SMU. I'm sorry. I'm not looking at you guys' faces. Sorry, I'm looking at the bracket. So Ralph has SMU as his wild card upset. Gerald has his wild card upset with Indiana beating Notre Dame, and I have Clemson beating Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on tape. That's there. That'll be our wild card. That'll be the freebie, free Taco Bell for Ralph, and free because I think he'll still eat this if it's free for sure, which is Carl's Jr. for you and Gerald. Free pub for Taco Bell and Carl's Jr., by the way.
There you go.
Okay. Sponsors, yes. So we have now figured out what the first 4 games are going. Now, Ohio State meets. Wait, who picked Tennessee?
I did.
You picked Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah.
How are we going to break this down? Should we have another show that goes when those teams have advanced, Gerald, or should we continue?
Well, you just continue right now. I mean, we could have another show about how it all laid out, eventually, or as each round goes by. But I think we should just give our first early predictions on who we think is going to go all the way. So
Okay. So let's do this. So we're going to start with Tennessee on this one, just so we can get out of the way, since 2 of us picked Ohio State. So if Tennessee meets Oregon, what and who picked Tennessee again?
Tennessee's not beating Oregon. I picked Tennessee. They're not beating Oregon.
Okay, so you're sure that Tennessee will beat Ohio State? That's because you are a Michigan fan, which is totally understandable. So Tennessee playing Oregon. Are we looking at a blowout if Tennessee plays Oregon?
I mean, I think they get out of Ohio State with war wounds, and and Oregon's chilling. I mean, that's the only thing. There's sometimes these teams that come off the bye week or these this long break. I mean, how long is this about to be? 3-week break?
Yeah, the championship game is 5 weeks away.
Yeah,
it's pretty nuts. So let's put it this way: you're talking about a freshly new Heisman Trophy winner in Dylan Gabriel. You all agree that that's probably going to be the way it goes?
You think he's going to win the Heisman?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Who do you think he's going to win?
It's got to be okay, here, 2 things. I want Genty to win. I think Travis Hunter will win.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of want to go watch Boise State here in the Fiesta Bowl, but yeah, no, I don't know, Travis Hunter, man. I don't know. ESPN, I know you said it was Joe, but they keep pushing this, the Colorado and the money and all of that. So I don't know, just Travis Hunter. I mean, they're the main guys right now. It's all over the media.
They're going to give it to a wide receiver?
But he plays both sides of the ball, Joe.
I get it. So he's going to be
every snap.
So he's going to be the 2-way player that defies football in college.
I think he is probably right now the best player in college football, and I think he's going to get it.
Okay. All right.
So if you watch him, Joe, full time through a full game, he impacts on both sides of the ball, and he is fast.
He's a freak.
He is absolutely lightning speed. He's one of the fastest football players I've ever seen, Joe.
So what is he going to play when he goes to the NFL?
He'll be a receiver for the New York Giants.
Oh my God! With neighbors.
He'll be an injured wide receiver after the second week for the New York Giants.
Who's gonna throw the ball
though?
I got. So here, let's look. I'm glad you brought this up, guys. Again, we're looking at a draft where the first 3 picks might be 2 Colorado players, correct? Because you're going to
yeah.
probably have Sanders or Cam Ward flip-flopping one or two,
No,
correct?
Mason Graham's probably going to go top 5 from the D lineman
For
from
sure, but we're talking about the
top
three
3.
best, probably the 3 best players in college football, which is Sanders. I wouldn't say that actually. I'm sorry. The most coveted like NFL players that are going to be coming out. Would you say they're Sanders, Cam Ward, and Travis Hunter, top 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if that's the case, they always pick quarterbacks in the first 2. So either Sanders or Ward will go 1 and 2, and then do you see New England? I think is slated probably to get around 3 unless they really bomb. Let's say New England gets Travis Hunter. Who the hell's going to throw to him in New England?
Doesn't matter. That's why you do
I'll tell you
5-yard
what.
wide receiver screens, Joe.
If
5 yards.
If
Wide
I'm
receiver
Carolina
screens.
right now, man, if I'm the Carolina Panthers, man, I start tanking because that's exactly what Bryce Young needs. He needs Travis Hunter bad.
That guy's dropping balls on the game-winning touchdown.
Now, this is the problem here. What if Carolina gets one of the first 2 picks? Sorry, I had to segue here, but there's a relevance to this discussion with college football. Go ahead, and I'll go back to the bracket.
So you're saying if they get one of the first 2?
What if Carolina gets one of the first 2? That means they can trade down, right?
Yeah.
And give it to someone?
4 picks. Yeah, they can get more.
Or will they do that? Or will they bypass that quarterback? They won't, because somebody will want the quarterback, right? Somebody will pay for that.
Well, yeah, because they know they're not going to draft the quarterback, the Panthers. So I mean, I don't know what type of trade is going to get negotiated, because they're like, we want the quarterback. We know you're not getting a quarterback at 1 or 2. So I don't know. Yeah.
College football, baby. We just want to put a little seasoning on this, guys. College football is an amazing sport. A lot of good stuff to come here. So we'll get back to the bracket. So we got Tennessee from Ralph's side playing Oregon. Without a doubt, I don't see any way that's going to be competitive. I see Ohio State. I'm sorry, I see Oregon winning that. Gerald, you picked Ohio State to advance to play Oregon.
I think it will be competitive.
What's your result on Oregon versus Ohio State?
I think the spread's going to be. I think the spread will be about 2.5, maybe 3.5, and it is going to be that close. And I would not be surprised if OSU wins, but I'm still going to stick to my guns and stay Oregon. This might be Oregon's toughest test, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. I said it might be. I didn't say it would be. I said it might be.
Well, I'm going to stamp it. I'm going to make fun of you afterwards if it doesn't work out. How about that?
Yeah, okay. Well, you always make fun of me anyways,
All
and
right, cool.
vice versa. Sorry, Coach.
Be ready. The Rose Bowl, too, is going to be packed with Oregon fans. It's not even a far travel.
And OSU, too. Those Big Ten fans, they certainly will. They find their way.
I'm going to say Ohio State upsets Oregon.
Well, now that there's like 20 teams in the Big Ten. So
come on, Joe. Don't be speaking this into existence.
No, I just don't. I don't see. I can't see Oregon beating them twice at this point.
Did you see Georgia beating Texas twice? Honestly, like this second time in the championship.
I didn't really think about that one too much.
I did.
Figures.
Honestly.
It figures.
I didn't really think about that one. There's something about Big Ten, SEC teams that I'm just stuck on. I'm sorry. I know that Oregon's in a different conference now. They're not in the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or whatever the hell they call themselves now. But I always seem to venture to the Big Ten, the OG Big Tens, and the OG SECs. It just always plays out that way. You got to go with what the habits are. I talked about this on the show a few hours ago. Habits matter. That's why I'm worried about the Steelers playing the Eagles this week, because Steelers just can't win in Philly. However, I just found out a stat that I didn't know about. Russell Wilson has never lost to Philly. He's beaten them 7 times out of 7, and he's beaten them 4 times in Philly. That's pretty cool. But yeah, $7,000. Bryce Young, for his sake, for God's sakes, if you get him Hunter, I think he's been playing. He hasn't been bad. And I think the NFL needs to let these guys develop sometimes, man. Jesus Christ. They don't have a good couple of weeks. They want to bench him right away. You get him Hunter, and I watch how different he'll be next year. That'll be it'll be a Marvin Harrison Jr. type situation, if not better. So that's my take on that. So Ohio State, I got Ohio State beating Oregon and advancing to the semifinals of the college football playoff. The next one is ASU versus did we all pick Texas?
Yeah,
Yes.
you were the only one that was close about Clemson. But
Yeah, I said Clemson would be my upset pick. So ASU Texas. This is kind of another easy one for me. We got to go with Texas, right?
I'm going with Texas.
Okay, I'm going with Texas.
Sorry, ASU, a nice story. But again, like SMU, nice stories don't last long when these guys play because, it comes down to talent more times than not. And I don't expect ASU to be at the level of Texas, which is kind of funny, because, ASU, they finally break up the Pac-12. ASU feeling all good about themselves. They found a place where they could thrive because they got tired of being 5th and 7th place in the Pac-12 and right back into the fire's nest as far as with Texas coming right there. I think Texas, yeah, this is going to be a good one, and they're going to want to go to Cotton Bowl. They're going to want to go to the Cotton Bowl.
Okay, Ralph.
It was pretty cool that ASU though was projected. I mean, honestly, Cinderella story. They were projected to be the last in the Big 12 this year, and they won it.
They were.
Okay, but what if Clemson kills themselves and wins this game against Texas? Big upset. Do you think the hype goes down and ASU actually has a chance of going on the Cotton Bowl?
Absolutely. ASU will have a chance to beat Clemson because Clemson will be on a high. They might give out all of their efforts in that game and then end up playing ASU, and ASU be able to take advantage of it.
ASU Oregon.
But it's still,
the only thing is it'll be closer to Clemson as far as the home game, because it's being played in the Peach Bowl.
Mhm.
So they'll have a larger crowd at that location.
True. And then Clemson is a Power 5 type team. They've won a national championship recently.
Mhm.
So you're still kind of a little hesitant there, but I just don't think that they're going to – I'm pretty sure that Texas is going to win this either way. But you tell me, Ralph, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
You could pick ASU. I know you live in Arizona. You want to support your state. I get it.
What about this? You haven't thought about this in your head. What about if ASU goes on to the Cotton Bowl and plays Ohio State? Then you got Michigan and ASU beating Ohio State in the same season within 1 month.
I think for you that's kind of the double whammy for your rival.
That's the fantasy in my head, Yeah.
But so is that so? Let's look. You're not going to get stamped on this if you're going through a setup that you want, right? You've already done it with OSU with picking Tennessee over OSU. So how about we do this? It's on record, so it's okay. Let's just say ASU wins this, and they face Ohio State in the semis. Okay, you want to do that? Out of sheer hope, right?
Situation, yeah.
You tell me, and I'll roll with it. Okay. So Ralph is going to pick ASU because of the novelty to face his hated rival because he's a big Michigan fan.
And I live in Arizona.
And you live in Arizona. So ASU, Ohio State in the semis. Ralph, speak it into existence. On my end, I'm obviously going to pick Texas. Texas is going to play OSU, and that's where that stands. The next area we're going is Georgia versus, let's go with Gerald again. Gerald, who did you pick again to face Georgia?
Indiana.
So what's your assessment on that, and what are the results in the end?
Well, the thing that kind of gets me a little bit concerned is the whole quarterback situation in Georgia. Of course, Beck is out, and they have the backup coming in. I don't know if Indiana, as far as player-wise, is going to be that as good as I think when it comes down to Indiana, I think they need a perfect game to beat Georgia. And they need that backup to play really, really bad. And I don't think he'll play bad enough that will get them the loss. I think I'm calling Georgia on that one. I'm going it's at this point where the favorites, you have to lean on the favorites more. The chances of an upset get reduced dramatically. So I think in the Orange Bowl, I think it's going to be, you know, for me, the favored teams in this to me is because I think right now Georgia would be the one I'd go with.
Jay, don't forget, this is college football. And if I have to give you an example of the quarterback carousel due to injury, don't forget, Texas has kind of been dealing with that, and they're still here. And of course, the most popular one in recent memory that still won a national championship, which was Mr. Tua and Mr. Philadelphia right now in Jalen Hurts. They were able to make it still work. So it's different in college. It's not like in the NFL. So just wanted to throw that in there. And of course, you still have that coach. That coach is Georgia. Kirby Smart. He knows what he's doing. So I'm going to go with I'm pretty confident that Georgia's going to win handedly on that one. I don't know what the spread would be on that, but we'll discuss that down the road. But I see Georgia beating Indiana or Notre Dame, whom I've picked to advance. And I don't know if necessarily that'll be a blowout, but I think Georgia will have full control of the game probably the entire time. And that's kind of where I sit on that. Ralph, what's your feeling on this?
Joe, let's just clear the smoke right now. This whole bottom half of the screen, Georgia's going all the way to the national championship.
Okay. Well, okay. I said that. That's what I have set too. So we are in cahoots there. So we already know this. We're gonna go to the next one.
They got the easiest route. They might not, but on screen, on paper, they have the easiest route out of
Okay, good. We know. I'm with you on that one. I'm already there, but we'll continue. So now SMU, Penn State. I have Penn State meeting Boise State.
What was Gerald's take though? Because he made a little sound over there. I want to know what he's thinking.
I'm just gonna say I don't think it'll be as easy for Georgia. I mean, I think
I wanted to get to the semis to discuss that. But
okay, I think they beat. Let's just say they beat Indiana. I got them beating Indiana. So even without
we'll talk, Gerald, don't worry. We'll talk in the semis. You can.
But yeah, let's talk the Orange and the Cotton Bowl when it was.
We'll talk to you directly on that one. We'll say a couple things, but I'm pretty sure Ralph and I have kind of the same mindset on that already. But let's look at Penn State, SMU. I picked that. I'll start here on this one, and then I'll go to Ralph and then Gerald. So Penn State meeting Boise State. Boise State has had. They've been kind of knocking. Again, I call them the Gonzaga of college football. They've been knocking on the door of kind of supremacy for so long. It's one of those still kind of Cinderella stories where I think it'd be really cool if they did win. I wouldn't be upset. I would be kind of cheering for them. But I don't know necessarily if they have enough. I don't know if they have enough to beat Penn State. So looking at their setup, I guess maybe I'm stuck on that, the bigger schools, the Big Ten type thing. Because when you look at Boise State, they barely lost to Oregon. But then still, again, they're playing teams that are not that good either. A lot of these guys just keep losing to the top teams, but then they beat the lower teams. I think the only team they beat that was ranked other than Oregon was UNLV in the last game of the year. So
yeah,
I don't know how to assess that still. But if I had to go with kind of the norm, I can't pick against any Big Ten team that's a powerhouse like Penn State against a team that would be in a Pac-12 or whatever, no matter how good they are in terms of record. So I have Penn State beating Boise State. Ralph, what do you got on that one?
Boise State's the team that I have zero connection with, no blood, no family, no location, but has always been in my heart as a kid. Like I watched them against TCU in like some Fiesta Bowl when I was 11 years old. So, yeah, everyone has those fun teams they just enjoy. and Boise State's that team for me. Why I'm choosing SMU as my like upset of round one is because of Boise State, because I think it would be an awesome game to see Boise State versus SMU. You know, a quick passing SMU team versus, you know, hard-nosed Boise State running team, which they can still throw the ball if they need to. Because Boise State, in my opinion, has zero chance against Penn State. So the only way I see Boise State being able to complete somewhat of this mission is with SMU upsetting Penn State. But you know, any given Saturday, speaking, or whatever day these games will be on, Tuesday, Wednesday. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a tough one for Boise State. SMU wins. I think Boise State, they probably still won't even beat SMU, honestly. But they have a better opportunity than against Penn State. They got, I don't know. I don't even want to say the toughest road. Is just their schedule doesn't show. But then you got Vanderbilt beating Alabama. So there we go. Yeah.
A lot of that going on, right? A lot of that going on.
Yeah.
G, what do you got, G?
Gente has to have a huge day. I've seen him twice now in full against UNLV. UNLV put up a nice little fight, but Boise State clearly the better team. Congrats to them for getting this far, being pushed to a number 3 spot on this list. But I think Penn State against the number 1 team in the country held quite a bit, and I was very impressed with Penn State. I thought it was again going to be a rout, and they made it very close. With that, I think they're hungry. I think they want another shot against Oregon. To give everybody a little bit of spoilers, and I think that they'll beat a close one in Boise, unless Gente gets a huge day. If Gente gets a huge day, all bets are off. But he has to go for 200 yards plus.
200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Otherwise, Boise State will not have a chance, and they could lose by 10. But I'm thinking right now that Penn State is going to go ahead and move to the Orange Bowl. Sorry, Serge. I love you, my friend. Got nothing but respect. But I know you're not happy with Joe and I predicting Penn State for the win on that. But I think I'm going to go with Penn State over Boise State. Unless Gente has a big day, then I won't be surprised if they pull off. Because I think it'll be an upset. Because Penn State will be favored in that game over Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl.
You picked SMU, right, Ralph?
Yeah.
For my yeah, I mean that's my
Boise.
upset of round 1. Yeah.
So what's your assessment on that? What do you I mean, if SMU beats Penn State, I can see Boise State beating SMU.
Yeah, that's different then. But yeah.
But go ahead, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think a part of me, like, subconsciously is picking SMU because I want Boise State to have a better opportunity because I just like Boise State. And I do think, you know, that there's a possibility of SMU beating Penn State. But, yeah, I mean, I watched Penn State against Oregon. I mean, that was probably the best I've seen Penn State move the ball all season against a good Oregon team. You know, like, when do you see Penn State dropping freaking 35 points? You know what I mean? And this isn't against, like, a 2-win team or a Purdue team. So, yeah, Penn State goes, I mean, you know, it probably wins through, but they're not beating Georgia, in my opinion.
Okay.
Good deal. We're going to get to that in a second here. So right now, we kind of have a 2 out of 3 on each one. There's really nothing that's been 100% on either bracket. So right now we have, I guess, I have Ohio State versus Texas in the semis in one, and I have Georgia and Penn State in the other. Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Penn State. Did I go Power 5 too much, guys?
You go by the talent. At this point, you have to go by the talent.
You think one of these mid-tier teams might sneak in there? Probably. It's been known to happen. They always sneak in one, maybe, kind of like how Washington, got in last year, and they went to the there was 2 last year, really. Well, not really 2, but you know what I'm talking about. There's always one.
You remember when UCF made it in?
Yeah. It's likely that that'll happen, but I'm going to roll with what I'm rolling with. So I got I got Ohio State, Texas, and then I have Georgia and Penn State. So I'm gonna do both these at the same time, and then I'll go to your guys' pickup or your guys' picks, and then we'll continue from there. So I have Georgia in the national championship game. Penn State it'll probably be a good game, but I think Georgia pulls that out. And then I have Ohio State getting to the national championship game to play Georgia, to beat Texas. And I think that one might be a pretty damn good game too. I think both those games will be good, and you'll have Georgia and Ohio State coming through, back again to the two most prominent, probably two of let's say the last four prominent teams that I can think of in terms of SEC and Big Ten, old school Big Ten teams in the finals to square off for the national title on January 20th. So that's where I'm at on that. Ralph, what do you got? I know you got Georgia in the national championship game, so that one's easy. What do you got with who do you got on the other side? I know it's not going to be Ohio State. It's going to be Oregon and ASU, just out of novelty.
I mean, okay, like if I go, how weird can that be? It could be Georgia versus Texas in a third matchup.
Right. That's very, very appealing. I actually think that would be pretty nuts.
And it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty nuts.
It's like I just want to see through round one what's about to happen, even though like we're just making guesses right now because it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, just when you're a passionate college football fan, you have like heart for certain teams. It's hard for me to like dissect, do I actually want this team to win or is this a team that is actually gonna win?
Mm-hmm.
Like your mind makes you want to believe, like, for example, I've been loving SMU all year, so my mind's making me want to believe like there's a chance of a upset, But okay, let's just go black and white. Logically speaking, Texas beats Clemson. Tennessee beats Ohio State. What I really do think, they lose to Oregon, and then Texas maybe squeaks by ASU, and then Oregon versus Texas, and then man. Oregon, did they play SEC this year?
Oregon?
Yeah. I don't think they did.
Let me check the schedule real quick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think they're big games. I mean, they played obviously Ohio State.
I don't think they did, but let me check.
And imagine Texas though too.
Nope. Oregon didn't play anyone in the SEC.
So then imagine Texas going against Oregon, knowing for example, Georgia makes it all the way, and Texas like we have a chance of going against Georgia again, even though Georgia's beat them twice, but we beat them in the national championship.
Yeah,
and that's what matters.
There's a lot of scenarios here that will have a good story. I think that's why this bracket's going to be so cool. If any one way happens, I think there's still going to be a story for each and every one, and a lot of people are going to be cheering for the mid-tier teams like Boise State, SMU. Oregon's been a competitive team, but it hasn't. Has they ever won a national title like in the past? I think they won one back in like the 40s.
Oregon?
Was it 1949 or something? Let me check that one.
Did Oregon? Or did they lose with Mariota?
No, they lost in the. They lost to Auburn in 2011 in the national championship game. It was a close one.
Yeah. Who did Cam Newton? He won with Auburn. Who was that against? Was that Oregon? It
was against Oregon.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he won in the last series, I believe it was.
Yeah, close.
Yeah.
Who do you think out of the mid? Don't mean to cut you off. Who do you think out of the mid-tier teams can actually go the furthest? The mid to low. Like ASU, SMU.
Let me look at this.
They have never won a national title, guys.
I would say Boise State.
You think they can go the furthest?
Because they're playing one less game. If they, and I think I think there's a good chance that I think they could beat either SMU or Penn State. And then if for some reason they outplay Georgia because of a quarterback issue, I could see them going to the championship game.
The dark horse.
I don't know. That would, to me, that's kind of considered the mid-tier team would be a Boise State or ASU. Those are the ones that would be considered that. Even Oregon to some degree is, because they're not that prominent big Big Ten, SEC, even ACC type team. So I'm looking at the past champions. I don't think
Oregon has never won a national championship.
Yeah, they've never won. I'm sorry, I was thinking of somebody else. Was it Oregon State? Now I want to know. I mean, just look at this, guys. Look at when you look at the champions. It's always been here. Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Florida, Texas. It's like this has been like this for almost 20 years. No one that's mid-tier wins the damn championship. So will this be the breaker? I don't think so. I think it's going to be Georgia in the end. I think it's going to be Georgia in the end. So, anyways, Gerald. So tell us what you think here of your Final Four. What's your
all right? Well, I'm also going to answer Jordan's question on a sleeper team, although they're not a huge sleeper because I don't think. And after you get by Notre Dame, I don't think there's. After you get by Ohio State, I don't think any of the teams beyond them probably have a chance to go through the entire gambit. As far as a sleeper is concerned, a dark horse per se. But my Cotton Bowl matchup is, if everybody it works out the way I thought or I think, Texas versus Oregon, and this will be Oregon's toughest game because it's in the Cotton Bowl in Texas, and we're going to be the majority of home fans in that stadium. It's going to be nothing but Texas fans. But if they win, which I think they just have too much talent for Texas, I think they'll move on to the national championship game, and it's going to be against the winner of Penn State against Georgia, and Penn State is my dark horse team. If I have to give any team a dark horse, I know that's not much of a stretch, and I apologize if I can't go any further than that. But Penn State, for me, will beat Georgia based off the fact, with the quarterback instability. I think that Georgia meeting up against Penn State might be a little bit of a problem as far as matchup-wise. What I saw out of Penn State really showed me something. So I've got Penn State, even though they did have tough games during the course of the season in the Big Ten. I'll go right back to USC. USC should have beaten them. But Penn State, on its best day, can't beat any team in the country from what I'm seeing. They almost beat Oregon. I think it's a rematch, guys. I think it's a rematch of Penn State and Oregon in a national championship game. But if Oregon gets by Texas in Texas, I think they've got the win the second time around. But I think it'll be an easier win against Penn State.
There's really no way this can go bad. All these scenarios are great, honestly. Mm-hmm. So
I think Oregon's toughest game will be in the Cotton Bowl.
Props to all the participants, and great picks on everyone's part. Even you, Serge. I wouldn't mind seeing Boise State make a.
Oh, I wouldn't mind either. But
I honestly, if I had to say, if I had to just pick something, and I'm like, dude, that'd be so cool. Oregon against Boise State. Why not? The last time that I'd say you can consider kind of mid-tier teams kind of winning championships really was the early 90s. Miami won one of them, but you had Washington, you had Colorado, and you had Georgia Tech winning, although Georgia Tech shouldn't have won anything. Was it Georgia Tech or Colorado? I think Colorado shouldn't have won that year because they had a fifth down in that game. Everyone remembers that. If you remember, I remember it. But that's it. I mean, every team, or and then before that it was BYU. BYU won in '84. You just don't get these mid-tier teams winning. It's very, very, very rare. So if you exclude Washington, Colorado, and Georgia Tech in 1990, 91, you then go back to, again, Miami, Notre Dame, Miami, Penn State, Oklahoma. Then it's Brigham Young. Then it's back to Miami, Penn State, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, and at USC, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, Oklahoma. I mean, seriously, guys, it is such a rare win where a team like an Oregon or a Boise State or an ASU will win a championship. I don't know if that'll ever change. At least not in like ridiculously like random years. So that's why I'm sticking with the big boys. It still doesn't tell me. It still doesn't tell me.
I think my dark horse, and I hate to admit it, is Ohio State. And I know they're not a dark horse, but if we're talking about like a team that like, we're looking at Georgia winning it all, Texas winning it all these teams, I think Ohio State, I mean, just for the sake of Ryan Day and him surviving another day and having another paycheck.
Okay, how about this? What if he makes it to the national championship game and loses, like I predicted? Is he still going to get fired?
Loses to Georgia?
To Georgia.
Oh, man. I mean, you got to think, because I can't think that way. What if you're a diehard Ohio State fan? Like we're a diehard Michigan fan.
I think Ohio State, based off of their stupid bill today, anything's possible. Seriously, that had to have been one of the lamest things I've heard in a while. By the way, you know that flag? You know how hard it is to get it through turf?
Yeah, they have a turf field, huh?
Artificial turf, yeah. It's very hard to get that through unless you've sharpened the blade or the point. It's just I keep feeling Kirby and Georgia's relief, and I think it's going to catapult them. And the quarterback situation has nothing to do with it. In college football, you can win with your backup quarterback. You can win with kind of like a 2-quarterback carousel because it's happened before.
Arch Manning could win.
Sarkisian, does he feel that Manning is better than yours?
Do you feel like that?
I don't know. I don't see. I mean, Manning is a better athlete.
Yeah,
but he had a pretty damn good game in the last week.
Yeah, I don't know. Yours always just limping around, man. After every sack or something.
What is he doing? Is it seniority that's taking it, or is he actually better than Arch?
I think maybe just experience, like composure. I don't know, just like the little gray area stuff. Maybe he's just
I guess he's a junior too. Is he going to really, is he going to declare, or is he going to come back again next year?
Was yours actually junior, or how? I mean, how old is yours?
Yeah, yours is a junior.
Has he redshirted? So he's 21. Yeah, he's not that old.
Since COVID, I have no idea how many years these guys are there. I usually have to research it.
Yeah, March 15, 2003 he was born. He's 21, so he's young, man.
Yeah. So he could play another year. That'd keep Manning on the bench another year, right?
Was yours really going to get it picked up? I mean, with the injuries and stuff?
I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback, at least not a good one.
So he stays and collects NIL money?
Maybe. But does he beat out Arch next year?
Well, because Arch, I mean, he's sat out. He's doing his time. So, I mean, he's ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's another discussion for another day. So, yeah. Mr. Ralph, your champion is Georgia. My champion is Georgia. And Gerald?
Oregon.
Your champion is Oregon.
I think they finally I think they finally break through, Joe, and win their first.
Well, it would be the first time that a non-Power 5 team, I know they've been competitive, and I know they've been to the national championship game, but I'm talking about the staples in college football.
Well, they're in the Big Ten now.
Very true. Very true. But
Do you still consider them a non-Power 5 team?
I think if they win a championship here, they are officially into the Power 5 family.
Okay, it's in the Joe Power 5 family. Okay. Forget the fact that they've been
How are
playing
you
in the
gonna- how are
Pac-12
you gonna-
for eons.
How are you going to pick them when they have never won a championship in the 100+ years that college football has existed?
I just think they've got more talent than anyone right now.
That's fine.
Dylan
That's fine.
Gabriel's a solid
That-
quarterback.
That's fine.
But I'm just saying, how can you consider the Pac-12 a non-Power 5 conference?
Well, it's a Power 5, but it's not the guys at the Big Ten, the OG Big Ten, and obviously the SEC teams.
Well, I don't want them there anyways. I want them to go back to make
I
up
never said
the
I wanted them there. I'm
Pac-12.
just saying those guys. When you look at kind of how things how the results are usually, it's always going to be some of those. It's always going to be those guys. It's the history says it. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll call it as the weeks go on, and we'll see who wins out on this thing. Let's see here. What else? Let me look at some of the comments here.
Search wants.
So what does Search want?
Search wants the Boise State Broncos.
Okay, so Search, you want Boise State. Jordan, who do you want? ASU? You want ASU, don't you, you bum?
Joe, who was the last Pac-12 team to win a championship? I want to test you right now. To win a national championship.
USC.
You're correct. And guess when? How long ago? That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, 2004.
So it's been SEC, Big Ten, and ACC.
Yeah, and ACC because of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, literally.
Pac-12 is always eating itself alive each year.
Well, Florida State, they won one, right? Did they? With James
Florida
Winston?
State did win one, yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I forgot about that. That was in 13, yes, with Mr. Jameis Winston, right?
Mr. Crab Stealer.
Okay, so let me pop this up. So we had Deshaun Watson for Clemson, and then you had the Heisman Trophy winner at Florida State, and then you had, let's see, what else? So you've had Big Ten or SEC, other than it's been pretty much SEC, Big Ten, ACC with a couple sprinkles, and then you had Texas in 05. Yeah. Texas in 05 away from the, let's say, the Mississippi, left of the Mississippi.
So wait, who was the last out of the major conferences to win? Non-power conference.
Non-power conference was Washington in 91.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. It's rare, I'm telling you. And then the year before that, it was Colorado, Georgia Tech. And then Brigham Young in 84. That's it, like for the last 50 years. After that, it was Miami, Penn State, Clemson, Georgia.
Che has a good point. BYU.
I don't. BYU in 84.
With Edwards.
Oh, that's such a long time ago, though. No offense to anyone.
Well, the fact that they won it in the WAC was pretty crazy.
So does NIL now make it even harder for these smaller tiered colleges to win one?
No, it actually makes it easier.
You think so?
Because there could be a booster at BYU that's rich as hell going, hey, we want the best quarterback in the nation. Now,
off Michigan.
Now, I don't know if anybody's going to go to BYU, though. I'm just using that as an example. No one's going to want to go to BYU.
Mormon, they
don't
go.
want to deal with the Mormon stuff, yeah. Nick Saban was being actually he was being recruited to go coach at Texas and USC at some point during his career. And he said the same thing, especially at USC. I think he said at Southern California. He goes, kids don't listen in Southern California. Kids listen in Alabama. He knew. Texas, he'd probably get a little bit better there, but I don't know if he wanted to deal with Texas. I didn't really know why. Maybe he felt like, well, Texas and Alabama, they're kind of the same. I don't know what was the point of that. And then Nick Saban was going to go to Southern California and play in California. I would have been, Look what's going on with Lincoln O'Reilly. He was supposed to be the next big guy. It's hard, man. It's hard to play in LA in those areas.
Should have been fired.
The entitlement, and all these players, all these diva guys that just
should have been fired.
So great analysis on the first 12 12-team playoff format in college football. Very good, very good. Save that. I'm going again. We got that on tape. Great show, guys. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for all your input. Thank you for all your knowledge. Yes, folks, we know the Lakers. We know baseball. We know college football. We know damn near everything. Although I am kind of shaky on my hockey right now. I used to be into hockey a little bit more in the 90s, a little early 2000s, but it's been kind of bad the last 20 years. So I'm sorry about that. I'm not going to be able to do any kind of NHL shows. But we do have Sean Grice, who could probably do it. If that butthole would have showed up today, we would have been able to introduce him to that. But I guess he had better things to do. Maybe it was
Joe.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, what do you think was the biggest missed bowl game that could have happened that they didn't do? Matchup.
Today or this year?
Like for now the bowl games that are starting, what do you think was the biggest matchup that could have happened that didn't happen?
Bowl game.
I think I would have loved Colorado versus Alabama.
They didn't do that one.
No, they did Alabama versus freaking Michigan. The player recruiting bowl. That's what that's called. Miami, Alabama, Miami, Colorado.
Well, is Miami playing Colorado?
No, let's see where Colorado are even in a bowl game.
Who's Colorado, Miami playing?
Colorado. The Alamo Bowl. Who the heck are they playing? Let me see.
I haven't even looked at the bowl schedule because I don't give a shit.
It's Colorado BYU. The Alamo Bowl.
Really?
That's the best thing they could have done.
That's what I said about everything. That's why I want a larger playoff format, to be honest with you, Ralph, because some of these matchups are just so bad. USC does not deserve to be in there at 6. Any of these 6-6 teams, they do not deserve to be in a bowl game. Why are you celebrating mediocrity? You should not. Just reduce the number of bowl games or put in some more teams as far as the playoffs and then call it a day. All these other toilet bowl games are just filler. And that includes,
Here you go.
Oh, I was going to say
Colorado State.
Yeah,
like Colorado State's in the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl against Miami in Tucson, Arizona. Snoop Dogg's getting a bowl game now.
Is there still one in Bermuda? There's like 13 of them in LA. There's one here, the Las Vegas Bowl. The funniest thing is, the Las Vegas Bowl doesn't even have UNLV. This will be the only time UNLV ever gets to a bowl game, guys, and they don't play in the Las Vegas Bowl. It's just absolutely asinine. They lost their coach already. Everybody's going to transfer out. They're going to suck for the rest of the millennia. So it's just,
Pop-Tarts Bowl?
Yeah, this is...
Is that a joke?
I'm telling you, Joe. Why don't you ever listen to what I have to say? Been telling you about this for a long time.
Joe, you should make it a bowl game.
Oh my God, that is absolutely horrendous.
The corrupt bowl.
That sounds much better than Pop-Tarts. You're gonna actually have a Pop-Tart ring when you win? Oh, that's an embarrassment, dude. I'm sorry.
And you wonder why I say that, Joe.
I don't want more teams playing. I don't want 17 games in the playoffs. That's stupid.
I don't want 6 teams playing in bowl games.
I want all bowl games abolished. Gone.
They won't
Just
do
12
that.
teams. Go home. Go do your finals and go home. But anyways, we'll put that up. We'll put a button on that later. Thank you again for everyone. Yeah, Laxative Bowl. Exactly, Che. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Taco Bell.
Did you call it by Taco Bell Bowl? That would be a Laxative Bowl. Anyways, thank you for being here tonight, everyone. We'll have, when the first round ends, we'll have a return on our college football bracket analysis. We'll do our picks again then once some of us might re-register some might get them all right, some might get them all wrong. I don't know. We'll see. But again, I want to thank you, Ralph, for being here tonight. Welcome for the first time here for college football. Gerald, thank you again for doing your 18th podcast today. I think this is my second one tonight. That'll be enough for me. I'm ready to go crash out and watch a movie and pass out on the couch or in the bed if I make it to bed. And then, again, we'll be back probably tomorrow, Gerald.
I've got to do a show on the VGAs at 8:30. If I'm available late night, we can do something.
Okay. Well, I'll see where I'm at. Friday's going to be very difficult for me to be available. I will be out of town again, but I'll see if I can maybe set up something mobile. But I'll let you know about that. Lakers are going to be playing the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday, and I don't know what the status of LeBron James is right now. He is not available due to personal reasons, which I'm still puzzled at why that announcement was made on a day where they're not playing and the day before they're not playing.
Yeah, and Thursday, I wanted to make a correction. I noted it in the actual description of the earlier podcast that we did. Bronny plays tomorrow in Phoenix against the Valley Suns.
I couldn't give two shits about what Bronny James is doing. Thank you for that.
I gotta buy tickets. I'm going.
I will. Again, we will update probably tomorrow.
They're going to probably be a giveaway, Ralph. They're probably going to give them away. Don't
enjoy yourselves. I'm going to try to watch basketball being played by professionals, not some kindergarten bullshit thing that's going on right now in LA. Again, thanks everyone. Serge, thanks for being you. Jordan, thanks for actually talking tonight, not pissing me off. And until next time, we'll see you next time. Tomahawk chop.
Where's your whistle, Coach?
Get it! I couldn't find it. Somebody stole it. We gotta go buy one.